welcome to the Opt-in Podcast. I'm Melissa Franks, your host, and this podcast is all about what you can do to go from surviving to thriving inside of other people's businesses. I am an expert at teaching individuals how to become high-performing professionals, realizing their career ambition so they can live the life that they want. I also help businesses get strategic about what their plan is and help them grow and scale into businesses that they want to become. We are in the midst of the last 90 days of the year. This is my favorite time of the year, and the past few podcasts we've been talking specifically about this and the challenge that I have put out to all of you. Every week in this podcast leading up to the end of the year, we're going to focus on one specific topic. We're going to dive deep, and I'm going to share with you tactics so that you can understand how mastering these skills can help you finish your year stronger than you started. I want to pause here and remind you at the top of the show, like I do every week, that this last 90 days concept was not one I created on my own. Rachel Hollis, who is a personal development coach, mentor, guide, is the one that created this. And she did so within her Start Today community. And the focus primarily there was to help people set personal goals and achieve them, to stay on track during the busy season and the holidays. I have taken this and pushed it forward so that we can look at it through a business lens. And my challenge to all of you as of October 1st was to set 3 goals for the last 90 days. One of them professional, one of them development, and one of them personal. This way you become the well-rounded individual that you want to be. You're able to achieve those year-end targets and goals that you want, so you can hit that bonus structure if that's where you're aiming for, and you can take care of yourself at the same dang time. This week, we are going to be talking about distraction and focus. And I love these because we live distracted lives. I beg you to argue this point with me. We absolutely spend our entire life, sun up to sundown, trying to beat back distractions. We have these things in our hands. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see me throwing up my phone that are constantly sending notifications. If we're at work, we have our inbox open or instant messaging chats, which are constantly throwing pings at us. We can't stay focused because there are just distractions everywhere. And then, depending on your office setup, if you're at a home office, you're distracted by things in the house, pets, doorbells ringing, phones ringing, other humans in your house with you. And if you're in an office, you've got people doing the drive-by at your cubicle. You've got somebody asking you if you have a minute. You're getting invited to a last-minute meeting. You are distracted. And the one thing, the very, very, very one thing that gets in the way of achieving all of the goals that you set, that slows down your productivity and your efficiency, which makes it harder for you to get to that next milestone, is your ability to manage distractions. So today we're going to be talking all about what are distractions, how is it defined, what are the key ones, and then we're going to talk about tactics to minimize distractions. And then we're going to talk about focus and what focus really, really is and how you can improve your focus when you are working on a task, a project, a goal, etc. We're going to break it all down here. And I may even share some personal stories because I think that that is really important as well. So as we get started, the first thing that I want to start with is distraction. And if you are new here, I should warn you right now that I love the dictionary. I love it. It's my best friend. The thesaurus is its second best friend. So I love words. I'm an English major, a voracious reader, and I love words. With that said, I went to Merriam-Webster because she's my friend, and I asked her what distraction meant. And what she said is it's something that prevents you from giving your attention to something else. That's it. It's something that gets in the way and just is buzzing around and means that you cannot give your full attention to something else. There are so many distractions, I don't even know how to get started. But some that you may not actually be aware exist because maybe they're always low grade existing in your universe are hunger. Yep, hunger. Are you eating enough, not eating enough? Are you tired? Are you stressed about something in your personal or your professional life? Are you worrying about something? And then your environment, which we'll get to. But I want to talk first about those top 4, the hunger, tired, stressed, worried, because those are unconscious. Those are your base operating foundation. They're what you carry with you everywhere. Everywhere. They're in your mind and in your body. The easiest one to resolve is hunger. And I know some of you are like, what are you talking about? Like, I need to I need to stop eating. Like, my problem isn't hunger. My problem is that I just keep throwing food in my mouth. So I'm actually distracted by like planning my next snack. I get it. And I also understand that I am like some of you, but not a lot of you, in that food is an afterthought for me. In times of stress, I forget to eat. If I'm busy, I forget to eat. Like I'm the opposite of most Americans, I would say. And the reason that I can speak about this so specifically is because I'm incredibly in tune with my body. I have spent a lot of time getting physically fit and focusing on nutrition. That is for another podcast on somebody else's channel somewhere else. And so I know when I don't eat properly or eat enough, what the symptoms are. And I want to share some of them with you because you may not actually realize what they are. One of them is brain fog. So you know that for any moms out there, you know what mom brain is, or pregnancy brain, you definitely know what that is. This happens too when you don't eat enough or you don't eat enough of the right things. Your brain actually needs a certain amount of carbohydrates to function in grams. I believe it's 125 grams. If you do not consume enough carbohydrates in a day, your brain is not functioning correctly. Yep. That's right. I just came after all those high protein, low carb diets. But listen to me. You need fuel for your brain to function. It's a muscle like everything else. So brain fog is one of the ways that you know that something is off with your nutrition. Another way, and this is crazy, is that your body actually tremors. So when you have ingested too much caffeine or you haven't eaten enough, your body actually starts to shake and have small tremors. And the interesting thing about those two things is that you don't have the normal cues. Your stomach's not growling. You don't have a headache, but your body is signaling to you that there is something wrong. Another thing that happens with me specifically is when I'm hungry, I get super klutzy. I start dropping stuff, and I get very forgetful. I can't retain information. And so for me, when I start having prolonged bouts of forgetfulness, or I start having this like brain fog thing where like there's an idea at the top of my head, but I can't remember and I can't quite grasp it. And I start to pay attention, and then I look down and I say, well, when did I eat last? And what did I eat? And when did I eat before that? And I start tracking it back. And what I have noticed over the years is that in prolonged periods where food is an afterthought for me, my productivity suffers. The quality of my work that I put out suffers. I am slower to get to the result that I want because I'm not fueling myself correctly. So I want to encourage you to take hunger really, really seriously, because it's something that you could completely overlook. You're eating meals and you think that you're fine, but if you're eating chicken breast all day and not mixing in some rice or a potato, your brain doesn't have enough carbs to function. And so you may not be hungry, but your brain is starving. Sit with that. The next one is tired. So I would say that on average, every American adult does not sleep enough. We need to be sleeping 7 or 8 hours a night. We do. And there are seasons where we can't because we have small children in our house, or we're sick, or somebody that we live with is sick, or we have some crazy schedule going on where we can't get enough sleep. Prolonged periods of sleep deprivation cause cognition issues. It will be distracting at first. So you'll have an inability to focus. Your attention will keep kind of going to other things. But over time, you'll actually have a hard time processing information correctly. And what was once a distraction or a little bit annoying really starts to become problematic. So make sure that you are sleeping at least 7 hours a night. And I know easier said than done, and based on what your lifestyle looks like, it could take a while. I can tell you that I used to be a really proud member of the 6 hours or less club. Like, I wore that like a badge. And I realized one day, like, I used to go to the gym at 3:30 in the morning before I commuted to work. I mean, I'm not joking. Like, this was nonsense, absolute nonsense in my 20s. And it took me about 18 months to get to a pretty steady state 7 hours of sleep. And it took me taking the right supplements, and it took me, going to bed a little bit earlier and a little bit earlier. It took me not reading certain things before I went to bed at night. It was a really prolonged process. But because I was intentional about it, I was able to move the needle. And that's because I saw my work suffer. I was making ridiculous mistakes. I was missing deadlines. I was overlooking things. And it's not because I wasn't showing up to work. I was working 12 or 14 hours a day. It was because I was so exhausted, I couldn't. And on that note, this is going to be super unpopular, but I'm just going to say it right here. You've heard me say this before. If you are a salaried employee, you are salaried at 40 hours or somewhere around there a week. Every hour that you work above the 40, you're decreasing your compensation. So your employer is actually getting you at a discount. Because remember, I say often that how much you are paid is just a part of the transaction. Your employer is buying your skill set, and in trade, you're getting cash for it, right? And so if they're paying you $100 an hour at a 40-hour-a-week salaried position, and then you start working 50 hours a week instead of 40 hours, you're not making $100 an hour anymore. You are providing them a discount. So take your breaks. Take your 2 15-minute breaks. Take your hour lunch if that's what you get. Start your workday and end your workday. And you need to be able to communicate when you have more work on your plate than you can get done in 40 hours. If they're expecting you to do 50 hours worth of work in a 40-hour week, then this is when you go to your friend email and you document consistently, this is how much time I have this week to do work. This is the work that I've prioritized. This is the work that will not get done. Please let me know if you want me to adjust anything. Setting boundaries and adhering to the work week for which you were hired to do is one way to start defeating tiredness. Because tired isn't just, I need to sleep more. It's also, I can't think anymore about this. I have been doing this for X amount of hours and I can't do it anymore because I don't have any more rational thought. So really take a look at how you're spending your time and make sure that you're not giving your employer your great work at a discount, and make sure you get enough sleep at night. And then the next two are stressed and worried. And these can be incredibly difficult for you to identify and isolate. I know that as a parent of 3, I'm always worried about something. I'm always stretched too thin. I'm always forgetting something, always somebody's practice or something on the calendar. This week, dentist appointments surprised me, which is what happens because you schedule them 6 months in advance. And it's really easy to not realize the toll this is taking on you. In order for me to really isolate what the stressors were in my life and what I was worrying about, I began a journaling practice a couple of years ago. And it's something that I do very early in the morning as a part of my morning routine. And I just sit down and freeform write things down. And that is always when the things that I'm concerned about bubble up. It's always when I identify that there was a weight that I was carrying that I didn't know I was carrying. And if you have stressors in your life, if you are worried about things in your life, they're going to be playing on repeat in your brain. Subconsciously, of course, you're not actually focused on them, but they are using brain power to worry about them, to work through them, to come up with what if scenarios, sometimes to come up with solutions, but often they're just spinning cogs back there in your brain, and they're taking away your ability to focus or distracting you from other things. Now, depending on what the stressor or the topic of worry is, they can actually get incredibly disruptive. If you are somebody that worries in a very big and grand way and not in a subconscious way, you can paralyze yourself with fear. You can what if yourself into a doomsday scenario, which then means that you're so distracted by the what if that you've defined that you can't actually take action to move forward. When you get to this point, it's incredibly imperative that you resolve the worry, that you figure out a way to manage it, that you share it with other people, you go seek professional help, you do whatever you have to do, because the worry is now bigger than the rest of your life. The worry is now in the way of you achieving what you want to achieve. And the worry's just in your head. Now, I get it. We all have complicated lives and complicated professional lives, and things that we are worrying about are absolutely real. I 100% recognize this and have those of my own, so I get it. I also know that worrying never made anything better. Taking action on what you're concerned about, taking action on the situation or the scenario that you're in, that makes it better. That makes the worry go away. That diffuses the distraction. So pay special attention to stressed and worried, because they're secret distractors. They'll hang out in the background and they will undermine you. They will kind of carve away at your self-confidence, and they will paralyze you eventually if they're not acknowledged and managed. And then the last distraction is your environment. And this goes for anything. If your desk is messy, distracted desk, distracted brain. If you work from home and you're working in a room that has piles of laundry everywhere because it needs to be folded, you're distracted. If you work from home and your desk or your working environment is in the middle of the house and other people are there, distraction. If you work in an office environment and you have your instant messaging up, or you have your cell phone, this device I was talking about earlier, on with notifications on, distraction. Pay attention to what's around you and what will take brain power. If you are in a room full of laundry, you're going to worry about the fact the laundry's sitting there. If you are working from home and you have a super active pet with you, you may worry about what they're destroying, what they're getting into, if the other people on the phone can hear them, whatever it might be. Environment is the easiest one for you to tackle because all you have to do is create a place that is quiet, free of stuff you don't need, and then with the tools that you need to be able to execute the work that you have in front of you. Okay, so that was kind of our take on distractions. And then, as I said, I wanted to talk about focus because that's really the opposite of distraction. So if you eliminate your distractions, then you have the ability to focus. And focus is interesting to me because when I looked it up, there are multiple definitions, but these two really stood out for me. So the first one is that focus is being able to see clearly. So this is when you go to the eye doctor and you sit down and they put that crazy machine on your face and they start, ticking the dials. Is it better 1 or 2? 3 or 4. Got me? If you're watching the YouTube, then you absolutely understand what I'm doing right now. And that helps your eyes literally focus on the specific thing in front of it, whether it's the letter chart or it's a bird or whatever. Getting your eyes to be able to come in and see clearly the image in front of it, right? That's focus. The other definition of focus that I found interesting is that it's the point at which an image is formed. Sit with that for a second. Focus is the point at which an image is formed. All right, so in order to do this, we need to eliminate distractions, just like we talked about a few minutes ago. You need to move to a quiet area. You need to turn off the notifications for whatever, your device, your email, your instant messaging, your whatever. Close your door if you have one that you can close. Or declare out loud to the humans in your house, I am working, please do not disturb. Turn on some white noise. Sometimes that really helps. Like you just don't hear the other stuff that's happening and it just sharpens the focus. And declutter. Like I was talking about, just get the crap off your desk. Like if there's stuff sitting around, I mean, seriously, like I have this on my desk because, I just talked about earlier that I forget to eat. And so I keep looking at it saying, should I eat? Should I eat that? Should I? It literally is just distracting me. Like it's sitting on my desk is not going to make me eat it. So why is it here? I should go put it back where it belongs. An example of a distraction. So do all of those things, kind of your checklist as you run through. And then if you want to dive a little bit deeper, if there's more work that you want to be able to do to ensure that you can focus, I have some techniques that I want to share with you. So the first one, because this is my favorite, if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I'm a coffee girl. Like I love my cup of coffee in the morning. I get a cup of coffee. I read the news. I share with you kind of what I'm celebrating or what irritates me for the day. I love my coffee. And there was a study in 2021 that found that moderate caffeine consumption can produce sustained attention. Did you hear that? Moderate caffeine consumption can create sustained attention. So here's your permission. If you like a Diet Coke, if you're a coffee drinker, if you like green tea, if matcha's your jam, I could go on and on and on, drink it. In moderation. I'm not saying drink 64 ounces of something that's caffeinated. What I am saying is that, a steady dose and stop by 2 so you can sleep at night might help you focus a little bit more and it's easy and enjoyable. So here's your permission to do just that. The next one, shocking, I know, because we talked about hunger being a distraction, is in order to focus better, you need to fuel your body appropriately. This gets back into the nutrition conversation, and I should probably have a nutritionist on, note to self, I know a few that I could do, to talk to us about how we should be eating to fuel our brains so that we can be the most productive, efficient, creative business professionals in the world. But for now, since we don't have a nutritionist and you have me, and I am definitely not a nutritionist, these are some recommendations to increase your brain focus. The first one is to consume leafy greens. No, you do not need to eat kale. I can't stand kale, by the way. You don't need to eat kale, but you do need to include leafy greens. Throw in some spinach. There are lots of leafy greens out there. They're easy to do. Have a salad, wilt it down with your vegetables at night. Easy peasy, brain food. The second one is fatty fish. Now, this is going to be popular and unpopular. I know. You can get fish oil supplements that do not require you to eat a piece of salmon. If you're not a salmon person, if you're not a fish person, there is still a way for you to get all of the good omega-3 fatty acids, which is what this is talking about, without ever having to put a piece of fish in your mouth. So consider it. If you're not a fish eater, or if you are a fish eater and you just don't eat it frequently enough, eat it more often. And otherwise, go get the supplement. Like win-win. You don't have to smell the fish. You don't have to eat the fish. You don't have to do anything with the fish. You get the focus. Berries is another one. So overlooked. Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, berries of any kind help improve your focus. And the last one, which I love, is walnuts. Out of all of the nuts out there, the walnut really isn't talked about a lot. In fact, it's the one that's used for like fudge, right? I mean, here's your permission, go eat some fudge. Walnuts help increase focus and brain function. So if you go out and you mix in some leafy greens and some berries and some fatty fish and some walnuts, you have a more balanced diet and better focus. So coffee, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, those food groups that I just mentioned shouldn't be that hard for most of us to be able to do. But then we get into the things that are more difficult. First one, also shouldn't be a surprise because it was something that was on the distraction list. Sleep more. Sleep more. Now, I'm not going to define for you what enough sleep is. And I'm not going to belabor this because we just talked about why being tired is a distraction. But what I am going to tell you is that if you Google how to focus better or you Google what is a distraction, you're going to come up every single time with the topic of sleep. High performers understand that sleep is a weapon. High performers understand that they only become high performers when they are healthy and rested and have the ability to focus. I'm not going to belabor the sleep, just gently reminding you. Okay, now the next two, these are harder. They're just harder. They require you to do some things differently, so you have been warned. The first one, because we're going to get the woo and the woo out of the way, is mindfulness. Now, circa 2019, maybe 2020, mindfulness took a boom in the corporate world from a subject matter perspective. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody had a chief mindfulness officer. Everybody was doing mindfulness training. There was like wellness ambassadors. It was full court press. I don't know what in the universe triggered this thing. Maybe it was Jay Shetty becoming incredibly popular. If you don't know who Jay is, go find him. Whatever it was, in the corporate world, mindfulness was going to solve all the problems. All of them. And there was mandatory mindfulness training and there was mandatory mindfulness sessions, and there were these exercises. And in the company that I was in, there was this mandated policy that we needed to implement before every meeting, and it was called the time to arrive. And this is when you started the meeting, so everybody's there 5 minutes late, because that's how it works. And then you set a timer and you give everybody 60 seconds to shed whatever they walked in the door with and be prepared mentally for what you were in that room for. I'm not joking. This was a global organization of 250,000 employees worldwide, and they attempted to implement this. And I've got to tell you that the employees that were closer to retirement than college graduation revolted. They did not want the woo or the woo in their business practices. So there was this massive surge of mindfulness. Companies doubled down. They thought this was going to solve all of their problems, employee retention, happiness, engagement. It didn't. And it was incredibly difficult to have company-wide adoption. And there were people in pockets that were really excellent at it and leaders that really championed it. In all instances where I saw this be rolled out, I also watched it completely fail and fizzle, and there to be kind of a pendulum swing or corrective action that made things actually worse for a while. So I bring up the topic of mindfulness gently because I know that there is strong opinions about it either way. What I will tell you is that my children all started their education in the Montessori method, all of them. And one of the things that they're taught so many things. Can't talk about Montessori enough. It was the best foundation we ever laid for them. But one of the things that they were taught was breathing techniques. And now they teach this in a lot of public education programs as well. But they were taught how to pause and regulate their breathing and to really get present in themselves before moving forward, before trying to solve a problem, before asking for help, before resolving a conflict. They were taught these breathing techniques. And I see my children now to this day. My 14-year-old, who hasn't been in Montessori in 5 years, 6 years, and learned these when he was 5, so 9 years ago, will still have moments where I will stop and I'll watch him center himself, where the breathing comes in and it gets regulated. He's a baseball player, and so if he is on the pitching mound, we see it. If he's at bat, we see it. It's ingrained in him, and it's a way for him to release the stress, get present in the moment, and focus on what matters. So I know the value of this because I have small humans in my life that adopted these principles so early on, they're second nature, and they are helping them manage stress and focus constantly. They do it when they're taking tests. They do it when they're doing their homework. It works. So I would recommend breathing techniques. You can also do tapping. If you don't know what tapping is, you can go on YouTube and literally there's 1,000 different things. It's basically just hitting pressure points, the top of your head and here and under your eye and here and here and under here. And all you're doing is kind of hitting your lymph nodes and pressure points, and it centers you and helps you focus. And then if you can really do it, I have not been able to calm my mind enough to do this. Meditation is the other way. Taking 5 minutes or 3 minutes and doing a guided meditation and really calming all of the noise in your head and being able to focus. Meditation also helps really, really well if you're having sleep problems. Again, it takes a lifetime to be able to meditate, so have patience with yourself if you're doing that. But these mindfulness practices, they're all going to help you combat the distractions of stress and worry because they quiet your mind, they quiet the things going on, and they help you really focus on what's in front of you. So if stress and worry are your prominent distractions right now, go double down into mindfulness, breathing techniques, meditation, tapping. Those are 3 things I recommend. And you can start them right now. You can literally Google guided meditation. You can Google breathing techniques. You can Google tapping. They'll give you YouTube videos. They'll give you instructional how-tos. It's all stinking free. You just need to go find it. And then the last technique that I'm going to share with you, and I have heard neuroscientists recommend this. Dr. Andrew Zimmerman, who is a very prominent neuroscientist, he recommends the Pomodoro technique constantly. And this is one that I use really regularly, and it's very simple. You set a timer on your phone for 25 minutes, and you work your ass off. And when that goes off, you get up and you move and you take a 5-minute break. Walk around your house, walk around your block, get something to drink, get something to eat, get up and move. And then after the 5 minutes is over, you sit down, you set the timer for 25 minutes, and you repeat this for 4 cycles. So what that's going to end up doing is you're going to have 4 cycles of 25-minute work periods. Within that, you're going to have 20 minutes of rest. And then after you finish those 4 cycles of 25-minute work periods, which is almost 2 hours, by the way, and with the breaks and stuff, you're at 2.5 hours, you're going to take a 20 to 30-minute break. So now you're going to get up, and you're going to walk away from work. You're going to walk away from it. You're going to go do something else. You're going to fold laundry. You're going to go grab a coffee. You're going to call your mom freaking care what you do, but you're just not going to work. And I do this on days where I have what I call back office days, where I'm not in meetings all day and I have to just get shit done. And it works like a charm. And studies have shown that you can only focus really for about 20 to 25 minutes. Anything after that, and your focus and your efficiency and your productivity diminishes greatly. So go try the Pomodoro technique, give it a whirl the next time you have kind of back office stuff that you need to do, and see what happens. So this podcast today is probably one that you need to save and go back and listen to with a notebook, because I gave you a ton of tips and tricks. I also wager that you know somebody in your life right now that operates from a very distracted place and needs more focus. And if that is true, please, 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 please share this with them. Whether you're participating in the last 90 days challenge or not, these are things that resonate with us where we are in our lives right now. And as we're looking at the end of the year, where there's holidays and get-togethers and family functions and year-end goals and targets and all of those things, this is the time when we're most distracted and the most tired and stressed. And so please share this with somebody that you think could use the reminders and the techniques. Come back next week for our next topic for the last 90 days challenge. And if you try one of these techniques, will you post on social and tag me or DM me so I know what you tried and how it went? I would really appreciate it. So remember, please, friends, that you are wise, you are brave, you are strong, and I believe in you.